Hello. So today in this video, I'm going to review a job description on the market risk side. This was also a request from a couple of you on the comment section. So here you go. So this is a role with ICE, which is a company that is into clearing actually for the European markets. So they are into trading activities, and they help different trading companies. So yeah, it's a clearing company as you can imagine. So they are into they're exposed to market risk, and therefore they do have market risk department, and this role sits in the market risk department. It's a quantitative risk manager role in the model validation of quant in the model validation department. Okay, so yeah, the objectives start with a bit about IC and what they do and what kind of challenges do they face. As you can imagine, for any clearing house, there is the biggest risk is the market risk, right? And counterparty credit risk as well. Yes. So as a market risk quant in the validation department, what are the responsibility and what are the qualification, what kind of qualification do they expect you to have in order to work in this particular department, right? So the responsibilities are like this. You will be doing model validation and risk assessment. For people who are new to quantitative fields, let me explain to you what model validation is. So this is about checking or reviewing or testing whether the models built by the model developers are actually accurate or correct or not. You have similar roles in the software engineering side also. For example, you somebody develops a software. There's a group of people who actually do the testing of the software, right? And they're called testers, right? It's similar to that, but actually it's much more. I've seen software testing. Software testing is much easier compared to doing model validation. Actually, model validation requires to have sound understanding of each and every step involved in model development. So it's a lot more rigorous in that way, but the job as such is similar. I mean, the purpose of doing model validation is very much similar to that of doing software testing. It's just that software testing it's somewhat easier. I would say much easier compared to doing proper model validation of quantitative models. Okay, so as a model validator, you will be conducting independent validation. That means you will be checking whether the people who have developed the models, they have done it correctly or not, right? In order to do that, you should have sound understanding of the risk models, such as option pricing models, but also other market risk models such as value at risk models. So that is very very important. So you need to be really good at quantitative modeling, right? Even though you're not yourself developing models, but you are checking whether others have done the modeling work properly or not, right? So you need to have good understanding of the models, therefore. Then you'll also be doing benchmarking. So benchmarking is very common in risk modeling, in all kinds of risk modeling, in credit, but also in market side. So benchmark is nothing but just comparing your performance with some standard performance metrics, and there are different ways to do that, and that's something you should be familiar with, right? Assessing model performance, that's when your skills in backtesting comes into picture, and that's quite important actually in the market risk area. It's actually more important than in the credit risk area side. In the credit risk side, people don't care much about the backtesting work, but in the market side, actually backtesting is super important. Also, you have lots of data to do backtest on, unlike in credit risk side, where you do not always have good amount of default data or loss data to do a proper backtest. Whereas in the case of trading risk, it's actually much easier because you have a lot more data. In the model validation area, you do a lot of documentation, and the documentation standard is actually quite good, very academic, but very high quality. So it's important that you have good writing skills, you have documentation skills, right? But that's something you need to have regardless of which area of modeling that you will be working in. By the way, if you work in credit risk side also, you need to have good skills in documentation, and the documentation standard is much better in risk modeling area compared to other areas such as IT and all. So even compliance, I've seen compliance modeling area, I think the document standard is not that high quality. Okay, and then you'll also be doing monitoring activities. Monitoring is part of validation actually. It's something that you do as part of validation, that you check the performance of the models. Okay, so it's very similar to back testing. That means assessing the performance of the models, but you also check other things, right? Not just performance, but also whether the data is representative or not, whether the model has should be rebuilt or not. So there are a lot of other things that you would do as part of ongoing monitoring. And you also build some dashboard. Yeah, you'll also be collaborating with IT departments for some of the changes. For example, imagine there is a need for a change in the data sourcing, right? You'll also be working alongside the IT people, right? Not the most interesting work, but that's always part of the job. You need to make up your mind for that. Okay, what knowledge and experience is needed? Well, you should have a degree in quantitative fields, math, statistics, quant finance, engineering, and so on, computer science. um, this is a role for experienced professionals. So there is an expectation that you have experience in model validation, model development, or model risk management in a quant area in the financial service industry. They're not very particular about whether you should have experience in market risk modeling side or not. Let me tell you that in some companies, you will be expected to have relevant experience, but in some other companies I have seen, you can easily move from the credit risk modeling side to the market risk modeling side. It's not a problem as long as you have the theoretical understanding. And if you have ever studied some books on market risk modeling, I think it shouldn't be very difficult, but you can always prepare, by the way, all these details are also covered in my own course. I have taught derivatives, but also market risk, also financial econometrics quite in detail. So all these concepts are covered, right? Yeah, understanding of risk management, regulations around market risk management, FRTV, and although that kind of in Europe you have FRTV, similar. Yeah, but it's also you have it's best out of London, by the way. So for UK regulations, you also have to be familiar with the requirements. All right, so you need to have proficiency in statistical modeling techniques such as the building value at risk models, VAR models, different types of VAR models, simulation based, historical, and all that. But also you should be able to stress test a value at risk model. Stress testing is nothing but just coming up with some hypothetical scenario that if something really bad happen, how the model will behave, right? So that's stress testing. And then assessing performance through back testing, that's also quite important. Understanding of derivative models, option pricing models such as Black-Scholes model is, so having some understanding of stochastic calculus is important here. And you should be good with Python programming, and yeah, and SQL is used everywhere for data manipulation. So yeah, so these are the technical skills that you should have in order to work in such a role. Interesting thing is that they don't have specific requirement for you having prior market risk modeling experience, right? And that is something I actually see more often nowadays, because in market risk area you do not find many people having relevant experience. So for mid experience level people, I think companies are willing to give you an opportunity if you have experience in other risk modeling areas such as credit or operational risk side, model validation in other areas of risk, and people still give you a chance to work in market risk side. It's always the case in credit risk side, but in market risk, I used to see that people used to be a bit more particular about that, but I think some companies are not like that. Yeah, some nice to have qualification, for example, advanced degree like having PhD, or if you have done some certification, FRM, PRM, CFA. Again, this is not a prerequisite, it's just an additional requirement. Most quants do not have this these qualification, these certifications, by the way. Having some prior experience in counterparty credit with a clearing house, yeah, you can expect that. Understanding of the model risk management requirements, such as the SR 11.7, the requirements from the Federal Reserve, all the Basel 3, Basel 2 requirements on the trading risk side, and familiarity with understanding of traded assets in different asset classes. Yeah, yeah, that's also important, right? Okay, so this is a typical model validation role, right? People who work in model validation, they're supposed to be having very sound knowledge of modeling different products used in the company, but also having good understanding of yeah, the uses of the model, the different other aspects of the models. Yeah. So yeah, it's a highly technical role. I assume also is quite lucrative, right? Compensation wise, also quite lucrative, because you do not always find people having skills in these areas, niche areas, right? All right. So if you're interested in learning these techniques, right? Let me know, because I do have a course which covers most of the things discussed in this particular job description. And if you're willing to put in some effort, I think you can learn these things in about 3 to 4 months' time, um, just to be, to be ready to work as a beginner in this particular profile. Okay, thanks. As